Hello and welcome back to the Fit40 Podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition for busy people over 40 so they can improve their health and feel amazing. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach for people over 40 since 2015. And today we are going to be talking about the dark side of dieting. 7 things no one tells you before you start. Now, the reason I want to bring this to the forefront, bring attention to it, is because a lot of times you hear about diets, you hear about methods of eating, and they hype it up beyond belief. It's the best thing ever. Everyone has to do this. And you never hear about any of the downsides. So if you never do hear about any of the downsides, you can confidently say that you don't have the full picture that is required to make the best decision for yourself. That's why when you get medications at the doctor, they say, hey, this comes with these side effects, but it will do this for you. So you could be like, okay, is that worth it? And that's basically what I'm trying to do here when it comes to the dieting side of things, because dieting does not come with only benefits. There are downsides that you got to acknowledge, and we're going to talk about them so that way you can prepare and be mentally ready for this stuff so you can actually see the success that you want instead of hitting a roadblock with one of these things and being like, oh my God, I can't do this. Okay. No, you're going to be set up for success after this. Now, before we get into it, real quick, if you haven't already, go and hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening so that way you don't miss another episode. I'll wait. Okay, now on with the show. Let's talk about these 7 things that unfortunately don't get talked about enough. Now, these things are things that actually I'm currently dealing with. So I'm going to give you a firsthand perspective on exactly what goes on during a diet, because me and my fiance just set our date for our engagement photos. So I've got about, I want to say it was like, as you can see, like the mental recall isn't quite there, which I will touch on. But we got a good chunk of time where I could lose roughly about 10-ish pounds, which will put me in the ballpark of abs, which it would be nice for me, being that I've done this before. I have dieted down to 6% body fat according to an in-body scanner for bodybuilding shows. So like stage level lean, not just, oh, that guy's got abs. It's like, no, that's got veins and veins and veins. I've been to that place. I don't want to go quite there, but I know what it takes. So I've experienced this stuff before, and I want to give you guys the inside scoop so that way you know what to do when it comes. So first off, let's talk about the obvious, or actually, before we get into that, this is assuming everybody here listening is in a calorie deficit. Now, reason I say that is because a lot of people feel like they're in a calorie deficit. They're like, I'm eating like 500 calories a day and nothing's happening. No. Let's cut the shit. That does not happen. The fact of the matter is when people go down that route, they eat like that for a few days and then they go off the rails and they can never stick to it because they're riding day to day on the scale and deciding whether it's a good day or a bad day, and they're losing their shit and they're not consistent. We're not counting that. Let's assume that you're one of the people who's been listening to this podcast for a while. You know the right way to do this, and you're setting yourself up so that you know you will lose weight, you will lose inches, or maybe you're doing that already right now. Okay, so this can come through a balanced diet, a fad diet, or if you're on a GLP-1 medication, it will put you into a calorie deficit medically, assuming you're not like overriding the fact that it kills your hunger and your food noise and downing a bunch of really calorie dense, not voluminous foods, like really high fat sources that still carry a ton of calories, but it doesn't have a lot of space in your gut, which is one way to override the GLP-1s and not see fat loss. But let's assume you're not doing that and you are seeing this. Now, with all that, these 7 things can still happen, even with the medications. But this first one, the medications definitely help, which is hunger. Okay, not food noise. Food noise and hunger are not the same thing. I'm talking about just straight hunger. Food noise has a lot more to it, but when it comes to hunger, it's that sensation, that feeling in your gut of like, ooh, I need something to eat. And when you do this without medication, when you jump on a diet, you want to find that place of semi-hungry, because you can intuitively know that, hey, I am probably where I need to be because there's a little bit of hunger right now. And hunger can be influenced by sleep, stress, and a few other things. But let's assume those aren't in the picture. Like, let's assume that you've got this down and you're living an overall healthy lifestyle, supporting yourself with a good environment. You want to hit that semi-hungry state. And that's kind of a tell of like, okay, I'm right where I need to be. But unfortunately, a lot of people go way further than that and they're ravenous. They're like, oh my God, I'm eating nothing all day because I'm on my diet. And then they're finally eating and they're like eating way too much. So as long as we keep that in check and we're always at that comfortable or semi-comfortable level of hunger, that's where we want to be. But be very careful that you don't overdo it. Or if you do, like if you take too much time between meals or you eat a meal that doesn't exactly have that much protein or fiber or healthy fats in it and you're feeling starving because it's a low quality food from prior, just know, hey, I'm going to feel hungrier, but that doesn't change the fact that I need to stick to my plan. Okay. And that's where a lot of people go wrong too. They eat non-nutritious foods and then they're surprised that they're hungry all the time. Because they're hungry all the time, it throws them off their plan. Don't be one of those people. Okay. Now, next, number two. Number one was hunger. Number two is performance and cognition decline. If you've been listening to me since the start of this podcast, I am having a little bit of trouble with word recall at the same speed that I'm used to, because when you're dieting, you're not getting as much energy. When you're not getting as much energy, it can be in the form of carbohydrates. So that could be like getting less glucose to your brain, which your brain really, really likes to function on. Okay. And just overall, you can tell when you're in a diet, it's just not that same level of quality when it comes to doing mental tasks, like the same speed, the same skill, and it just, it's off. Okay. Then on top of that, when it comes to performance, like in the gym, for example, when you have less calories and especially less carbs, maybe less fats, you have less fuel to give during the session. So you're going to gas out earlier than if you were fully tapped out on glycogen, on fat, and you're like, okay, I've got plenty of fuel to use during my workouts. So if you're doing high repetition stuff, endurance stuff, it's going to be harder because you have less fuel to pull from. So you're not going to set your best times ever. You're not going to be able to do the most mileage you've ever done or the most reps that you've ever done. So with that, you just got to go into your gym session saying, hey, I'm going to fight like hell to maintain where I'm at. Hey, and if you're in the beginning, like a gym newbie, or sorry, not gym newbie, that's a Fit40 program, but let's say you are experiencing newbie gains, like you are strength training for the very first time, you are doing a diet simultaneously with this, you may be able to keep adding strength and keep doing more repetitions and ride that. Please just ride that. But eventually you're going to get to a point where you can't pull that off. And if you're a seasoned lifter or you've done it for a while and it just stops working where you can add a rep every time, you can add 5 pounds every time, and you hit that wall, just know that's normal, totally normal. And it's even normal to lose a little bit of strength and a little bit of performance when you're in a diet. And that's a sacrifice that you willingly, knowingly make. Okay. It's just the trade-off. There's no full-on 100% solutions with no downsides. It's just trade-offs. Next is mood. It is much harder to regulate your mood. It's very common to be more snippy when you are not as well fed. As we all know, you can get hangry. Your patience can be a little bit low. I have a puppy currently whining. My patience is not at its best right now. I will be totally honest. So it requires a lot of mental conversations of being like, okay, we are dieting. We are not in a good place mentally, like mood wise right now. Let's account for that. Like, let's check ourselves, really not let emotions ride this bus. Like, let's do our best to check in as much as we need to, because checking in is one of the best things you can do when you are dieting or when you're doing anything intentionally different. Like, check on yourself, ask, how am I doing right now? Like, what is my mood state? What's my environment like? And am I in a place where I'm going to be the person that I want to be and do the things that I want to do? And if not, got to create an environment and some systems to help with that. Next is sleep. If you are on a diet for a prolonged period of time, it is very common to have your sleep disrupted. And that could be not getting as many hours because it's harder to stay asleep, because when you're in a deficit, it actually increases your stress. A deficit in itself is a stressor to your body. So kind of like when you have something really crazy going on at work, or maybe in your family, there's some stuff going on and you have a lot of trouble sleeping. It's kind of similar to that, where it's like you can do a stretch here and there, but then you keep waking up and it's the most annoying thing ever. That can happen when you are low calorie. So it's something that's usually a good tell it's time for a diet break. But that's a different discussion. When it comes to the sleep side of things, just know it can be affected, and you want to do everything you can to make sure that you're maximizing the quality and the hours of sleep that you're capable of, like making sure you have a good sleep environment, cold, dark, and quiet, like a cave, making sure that we're not having screens close to bedtime. I know I've been so guilty of that, but I'm about to explain why in number 6. But like, it's one of the worst things you could do is be on Instagram or Facebook or watching like dramatic television or documentaries right before bed that heighten your state. So definitely want to make sure we're not doing all of that so that we can do the best with what we got. Next is obviously energy and motivation. They plummet. Okay. Both go a little bit lower because calories are energy. I know people love to criticize things that are high calorie and everything, but at the end of the day, they have calories in it. So your body can use it and it will be better than eating nothing at all. Okay. So calories matter. You need the right amount, which is a very big point to lock in on when it comes to the whole like fad dieting thing. A lot of fad diets plummet your calories to the point where it doesn't even make sense and your body fights back, and it puts you in a position where you can't win. So understanding your caloric needs so that way your energy doesn't dip way lower than it needs to and reduce your chances of success is a huge, huge thing. And along with that, motivation, like when you have less energy, you feel less inclined to do extra things. Like, for example, when you are dieting, you are less likely to take the stairs. You're less likely to park far away. And along with that, you're less likely to get your workout in because you're like, ugh, I don't really have the extra energy for it, especially if you have a super stressful job, if you have a stressful home, like if you got all this other stuff added to your plate, and now we're adding in a calorie deficit and you're expecting yourself to work out, even though you haven't worked out consistently for the past 6 to 12 months, that is probably not going to happen. All right. So if that's the case, it might be worth not going into a deficit and really honing in that habit of consistent exercise to the point where it feels weird not exercising. And then when you've hit that point where it's like, okay, this is solid, then jump into a deficit. And now number 6, which is what I was alluding to before, is impulsiveness. That decision-making center of your brain, especially when you're sleeping like crap and when you have less energy, it is going to be affected. So I know for me personally, I all of a sudden have been spending a lot more time on social media and brain rotting and stuff like that. And it makes me feel so shitty. I hate it. Like I can tell immediately when my social media usage goes up because I hate the version of me that it turns me into. I'm not as present with my fiance. I'm not as locked in with being like training and being a good dog parent to Teddy. Like I don't like me when I am on social media a lot. And that is part of the impulsiveness that can come with a diet. Now, what I'm going to do is implement systems to make sure that doesn't happen as frequently, which, for example, like one of the things that's going to start happening today, okay? Another thing, if you're going to implement stuff, do it that day. Don't wait. But for example, today, the one thing I'm going to start doing is once I have checked in with all of the clients for the last time that day, which will probably be around like 6 to 8 p.m., once I've sent all those messages out, the phone is going in a different room to charge and sit there overnight. Okay. It's not going to be around me, and it will force me to get comfortable with not having the phone. And if you've never done that before, it can feel really hard. It can feel like you're missing a part of your body. And it's sad to say this, it really is, but I will like constantly feel my pocket. I will like go to reach in my pocket and be like, oh, it's not there. And that's kind of a tell of like, yeah, you need a break. Okay. So that's for me, but it doesn't just mean social media. It could be impulsiveness when it comes to food choices. Like, yeah, you're on a diet, but guess what? You just passed McDonald's and you're like, oh, I can smell those fumes. I know they're pumping it into the air and it's making its way into my car. I really want a Big Mac right about now, or a McChicken or a McGangbang. If you've never had one, it's a McChicken with a McDouble, where you take the McDouble, you split it open, you put the McChicken inside and take one of the buns away, usually the bottom bun because the top has the mayo and the lettuce on it, and you smush it together and eat it. Oh, delicious. But I apologize. The people listening right now are probably on a diet and they're like, dude, shut up. Okay. But that's where my mind is going. So it's totally normal for that to happen. And if you are on social media and you're seeing all these things that are food related, like Facebook is notorious for this. They will put reels on reels on reels on Facebook of these gluttonous, disgusting versions of food. And you're just like, I don't know whether I'm hungry or disgusted. Like I'm kind of flirting with the line right now. But when you're dieting, it's like, no, I could go for that right about now. So you're seeing all this messaging, which is making it even harder. So just know it's coming, be ready for it, and limit your usage so that way it's easier on you. And the last thing is, I don't know if this is like a dark side, but I wanted to throw this in there because it is very important. And that is, you need to understand how to say no. Like you really have to get good at saying no to certain things. It's like, nope, that's not going to work for me. Not going to be in my numbers. That's not on my plan, and be okay with that and not say, oh, like a good frame to take on this is not to say, oh, I can't. It's I don't want to. Okay. Because I can't means that you're not in control. I can't means something else is calling the shots, like your diet, and you're just a victim to that diet saying, oh, I'm just following what they say. No, you got to own it and be like, nope, this is my decision right now, and I'm going to do this damn thing. So therefore, I don't want the avocado and cheese on my breakfast sandwich. I just want the avocado because I know that has fiber in it as well. So it's going to make me more full, and it's a healthy fat. So it's also going to benefit me more than cheese because cheese doesn't have the fiber and it's got more saturated fat. So I'm going to make the healthy decision for me. Or saying, no, I can't do the whole sandwich. I'm going to do an open-faced one though, because that's going to require less bread and it's going to save me about 200-300 calories. Or saying, no, I can't have snacks because I really want to beef up my meals and make them huge so that way my eyes and my belly both make me feel more full eating bigger meals rather than having a small meal and a bunch of snacks that never really actually make me feel full. Okay. As you can tell, those are hyper specific because I've actually used those examples in the past 24 hours. All right. So these are things that I've personally said. But you got to get good at owning it and saying, no, that doesn't line up with my goals for right now. And I'm not going to do that. But knowing that, hey, this is just a phase. No diet should last forever. It's literally a phase. Like it should be some start and end time that you know, hey, when I hit this point, I'm hopping off and I'm going to start eating more of the same foods so that my calories go up. I get more of those carbohydrates. I feel a whole lot better and I can start focusing on building more muscle, improving performance when it comes to times if you're into endurance running, or just feeling better overall and reducing pain. Because another thing too that people don't realize is, yes, a lot of times when you lose weight, it does reduce joint pain, which is awesome because it takes the pressure off of the joint. Like there's some crazy statistics, like for like every pound, it reduces like 20 pounds of pressure or something like that. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but it is an absurd difference with that. But if you're constantly dieting and you're never packing on muscle to also support that joint, then it's just pushing you in the wrong direction. Now you're just becoming weak and frail because you're constantly dieting and you don't want to do that either. So find that sweet middle ground where it's like you hit it hard, you do your thing for say like 12 weeks, and then you take the rest of the year and maintain while slowly adding muscle. And there is a way to do that, but you got to learn the exact way to do that. And you got to keep listening to this podcast because I pretty much talk about it every single week, and you can pick up tons of awesome tips when it comes to that. So just in closing, the big question to ask yourself right now with your life situation, with everything you got going on is it actually worth it? Is it worth all of these challenges? Do you feel like adding one more thing like this will result in you succeeding or result in you getting frustrated and failing and doing it all over again? Okay. Or do you feel like, okay, I've got a lot going on, but I can implement systems, I can implement some environment changes that are going to make this doable, or hire a coach to make sure that you know what that looks like? Because sometimes, honestly, as a coach, that's literally all I do is we're going to create a system, we're going to change these couple of things in your environment, and we're going to start seeing success. And it happens, but that's an accountability system right there, is having somebody else to make sure you do the thing when you don't want to. So that is worth looking into as well. And then how long do you plan to do it? What is your timeline? Just like we talked about, how much do you want to lose? How long will that take? And if you're doing this in a healthy way, that's usually about half a pound to a pound loss per week. So with that, create your timeline and understand that you need phases. Okay. A lot of people want to lose 50, 100, maybe more pounds straight. And that usually does not happen. Like, are there certain cases of that? Yes. But guess what? That increases the chance of rebound weight tremendously. Now, if you do it in phases where you do lose 10 to 20 pounds and then you stay there, maintain that weight by increasing the calories slowly, seeing what your body can handle without gaining any inches. That is how you do it. And you just repeat that over and over again, where you lose weight, maintain, lose weight, maintain. And then you do it in chunks over time and you feel so much better. You get better results and you look a whole lot better than if you just go straight through. So just know that that's probably your winning solution. But that all being said, it's not the easiest thing in the world. I know there's so many more things I could talk about right now that based on all the things that I brought up, but that is honestly what I do in coaching. So if you are interested in what that looks like and you just want to have somebody in your corner that says, listen, don't worry about any of that. Just do this, and there's a roadmap that you're going to follow to ensure that you get the results that you want, then go ahead and click that link down below, set up an intro call, and let's see if it's right for you, whether it's in person with me in Greenville, North Carolina, or over Zoom, like if you want to do sessions over Zoom, wherever you're at in the world, or if you just need a program and online accountability coaching, then I do that as well too. So if you want to check out any of that, click that link. We'll talk about it 10 to 15 minutes, just chat, see what your goals are, see what you need, and see if it's the right fit. And if it's not, no biggie. It's a free call. Who cares? But the least you could do is set it up. Okay. Take that first step, click that link. Let's have a chat. And honestly, even just hearing from podcast listeners would make my day. So I don't mind spending the 10, 15 minutes just chatting and seeing what it is that you need and how I can help. All right. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. But until then, go kick some ass. Bye-bye.